What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of Beyond Influence. I am extremely excited today, more so than ever. I know I say that a lot, but I promise you today is one of the highest levels of excitement I've felt being on this podcast. My name is Kwame Pia. In case you don't remember me, I'm sure you've heard my voice way too many times. And I'm here with my co-host, Lauren. Lauren, say hi to the people.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, we are very excited today because we got to have a guest that I know personally, one of my good friends, and I'm gonna say honestly, one of my favorite content creators. I don't want to blow up his head too much yet, so I'll save some compliments for a little bit later. But we have with us today the one and only Justin Glaze. Justin, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Justin texted me shortly before the podcast was supposed to start, and he's like, "Hey, what's the dress code?" He's like, "Yeah, I got a hat on, and I don't feel like taking it off." So
need it.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I actually have my appointment tomorrow. My barber's been away for about 4 weeks. Ooh. So yeah. I'm a little upset. I'm gonna do anything that I can. I don't know, get his passport reported or something. He can't leave the country anymore.
No.
Yeah. But thanks for joining us today, Justin. How you doing, man? Let's start off easy. How's life?
Man, I don't know if that's starting off easy, but that's a loaded question. Life is good, man. I really can't complain. I'm blessed. Super busy, but again, all good things. So I'm just been working a lot and, just lifing,
I can dig it. What projects and, things are you working on in your, I guess, professional? We won't touch on Love Potion yet. I know we're definitely going to touch on that, but What else are you working on in your influencer life?
Well, that is definitely taking up the majority of my time. So we can definitely touch on it later. But social media wise, just the constant balance of trying to, continue to like niche my content to attract the brands that I want to attract, execute the campaigns that I'm getting, while also weaving in and trying to stay up to date with like organic stuff as well, and trying to figure out what's my niche there, what kind of series or something can I, start to keep people engaged. So really just the constant like planning out of organic stuff, balancing it with paid stuff is what my part of my day-to-day looks like.
What do you feel like is easier for you or more fun? Do you like focusing more on the paid content side of things, or do you like coming up with like the organic series side?
Well, Lauren, I definitely enjoy getting paid. So
yes.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy that thoroughly. But no, honestly, I feel like and I don't want to give like a cop-out answer. I really think that there is a lot of fun in both of them. One, obviously, I mean, if I had, the organic stuff is really fun because there's no restrictions or limitations. You're in complete control of what you put out there, and you can fully 100% be yourself. But I will caveat that with saying, when an opportunity comes across from a brand, right? Like I won't just take on any partnership. I feel like I have to be aligned with the brand, and I have, one of the best things that I can hear is when a brand comes to me and they're like, "Hey, we really love how, your organic content, and we don't want this to feel like an ad. We want this to mirror what you would typically put out there." Right. And so getting that sort of green light, in essence, makes it fun for me because I can continue to just be myself, and I don't have to just I won't just get in front of a camera and try to sell you on something. That's just not my personality, not what I enjoy doing. And so I won't make that type of content. So a super long-winded way of saying that I enjoy both, just because I have the freedom to put out what I want to put out and express myself and show my personality.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really dope, man. I think obviously it shows, and I think that that's a big part of why you are genuinely one of my favorite content creators, is like you make content that is like enjoyable across all levels, right? When it's your personal content, it's funny. When it's branded content, it's funny. You always bring light to, I think, the situation. And I feel like it's something that people can easily connect with. When you look at social media nowadays, like for me, it takes me 5 minutes scrolling to get frustrated with social media nowadays, because there's just so much negativity that you see. There's like a whole lot of politics and it's just a lot of divisiveness. And so I wish there was a way to just like toggle a like setting that would only put people that you enjoy laughing at or watching, or people with like friendly content on, because those are the ones that just like, I feel like that's the real social media escape. When you open up your social media, you're not supposed to get more stress. You're supposed to get less stress. And so I can really appreciate that about your content. And before we get too far, I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because I think it's important to know why you are on this episode with us today. I think to quickly glaze over, no pun intended, you know, hey, what put, you know, Justin's platform about. He was on season 17. Yes, of The Bachelorette with Katie Thurston, and he gained a platform from that. But what I think has been really cool about Justin's transformation is a lot of people get a platform and then kind of just their effect dies down, right? And their growth dies down, and they stop creating a niche for themselves and stop really creating a presence for themselves on social media. And it just becomes like them, and they post every other week or whatever the case may be. But Justin has made a very concerted effort to really grow his brand and become this person that when you see, you know what kind of content you are about to get. And so what really drew me to this conversation today is about knowing about someone who has gained a platform, and then you kind of think about it as somebody who, if they didn't gain a platform, they probably would have been able to grow a platform, right? And so coming from all angles, and the fact that you now have started a company and are hoping to, you know, really, really bring that into light with the platform that you have. There's so many different facets of who you are as a human being. And realigning back to our original point, your content that you create, the fact that you're able to make it so light, like the amazing parts of that content creation, like what started inspiring your like themes for this? Because man, it just like, it seems like it's who you are, and it's so down to a T.
Yeah, no, it's man, I feel like this has always been me. And like one of the best things that I've heard from like, you know, my hometown friends and like family that knows me is kind of to your point, like after coming off the show and stuff like that, I think it is, I don't want to say easy, but I think people do have sort of a propensity to kind of like alter who they are sometimes, like whether that's in interpersonal connection, like relationships, or like how their presence online. And I've always been someone where it's like, I'm not going to take myself too serious. And so how I've acted and like what I do online, like pre and post show, it's like people that know me are like, oh, that's just Justin, right? So obviously I wasn't doing, you know, branded content before the show. And I think, you know, I will say I probably cared a little bit more about like what people would think before the show. But then, you know, Kwame, like going through this experience and like being, you know, everyone's not going to love you, right? And you grow this thick skin and you're just like, you know what, like I really don't care as much anymore. Like, so I am just going to fully be myself and fully send it. And so when I first started getting brand deals, like it just didn't feel natural to me to, like I said, kind of set up a camera and just like talk to it. I'm like, that's not me. Like I mean, some of this stuff, some of the deals that I was getting, I was just like, well, you know, this product, like I kind of got to make it funny. Like I can't take this serious, right? And so I just really wanted to like be me. And I've always, I mean, you can ask Marshall, we've been doing like home video stuff since before like I can remember. We were like little kids, you know, in our parents' house with this little tiny camcorder, and we were just like making home videos and stuff like that. So it's kind of always been in us to be creative and expressive and things like that, right? So I'm like, wow, now I have the opportunity to continue to do that for brands, and that's more up my alley than just like talking to cameras. So I was like, let me see if it'll work. And like when I remember submitting my first couple, and I'm like, this isn't usually like what I typically see online. Like I typically see like the influencer-y type of vibe when it comes to like branded content. So I'm like, I don't know if brands are going to go for this. And fortunately, they loved it. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep with this style because it's what I want to do, and it's working, and it's what they like as well. And so it kind of just snowballed, and I kept building off of it. And then I just found different ways to continue to like kind of invest in myself and what I was doing to like kind of up the production value at times and things like that. because I really do think it's important to invest in yourself and your content. So I don't want to get off topic of what you're asking me, but that's kind of why, I don't know, that's kind of how I started, just doing what I've always done, but with brands, seeing if they liked it, and they did, and just continue to do it.
I think what I really appreciate about your style of content creation too is, people follow you and resonate with you for being yourself. So I think it's pretty incredible that you are able to translate that to that more paid campaign side of your content creation. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you've seen that you've kind of applied to your content that's been really successful in either the organic or the paid side?
Yeah, I would say I would piggyback off of like the investing in myself, right? When I made the decision to step away, prior to doing this stuff, I was working full-time in finance. I was working in institutional investment sales. And so when I finally made the decision to step aside from the corporate 9 to 5 and kind of like take a chance on myself with the creative, and knowing that I was going to, grow Love Potion and all these things. And I wasn't going to have time to juggle both of those and a corporate finance job. It just wasn't feasible. So when I made that decision, I was like, okay, like this is my real work now. And, contrary to what people may think, like I'm working more now than I was before, but I'm like, if I'm going to treat it like a job, then I need to really invest in it. Right. And so, like I said, it was, first step was, okay, getting a real camera, real mics, right. And like up in the production value. And then it was, I'll do little things like I'll spend the money to rent a studio or a space, like a peer space or something on Gigster, right. To give a new setting or like make a video super aesthetic. Right. Or I'll hire, depending on how big the campaign is, like I'll hire a videographer and, an editor and things like that. So again, like upfront, it's like people don't want to spend that money, but it's, I'm willing to invest in myself and what I'm putting out there, because I look at my page as a resume, right? And I want people to come to my page, and I want brands to come to my page and see the quality of product that I'm able to produce. And so that's kind of been like the kind of chronological, I guess, leveling up of my stuff.
Yeah, I think one thing that people overlook is the dedication that a content creator needs to have. Mm-hmm. I feel like people just think, oh, you create content, great. That means you take out your phone and you snap a couple pictures or videos and boom. Right. Everybody likes it and you get paid. In order to really, really be an effective content creator, you have to invest a lot of time in it. Despite your platform, you have to be active, right? Like my first year as a content creator, I made like 0 to nothing. Like it was nothing, despite the fact that I had over 400,000 followers, right? That's not what brands were looking at. They were looking at, can he go out? Can he put himself out there? Can he be, vulnerable, interact with his audience, things like that. And I just saw my revenue and likelihood to, receive partnerships and offers increase and increase and increase as I started really taking the time to like look at what trends are going on, jump into the ones that made sense for me and my brand, take stuff that applies to my brand, create new videos off of it, and hope that those can become trends, right? Like interact with people online, have conversations, talk to my community, answer messages, answer comments. Like you have to be a social media manager. You have to be a content creator. You have to be a public figure. All of these different aspects of it come together to really like to create your like everyday influencer nowadays. Mm-hmm. Like there's so much of it that comes together to make sure that you are actually being effective. So I don't know. I feel like that's something that I want to tell the entire world when they look at something like this, because I see a lot of ignorance when it comes to like scrolling through the internet. Once again, the internet comes up, but scrolling through social media, you see people upset with content creators for the fact that they get paid to make content. But in actuality, like I've seen content creators put together like a 2 to 3 month calendar of like, I'm doing this today, this tomorrow, this is the day after, right? At this time, I have to post at this hour. It is a very meticulous job if you want to be successful at it. Yeah. You can make money for a year or so as a content creator if you aren't really diligent. But after that, you're going to phase out. Other people are making better content. They're growing their platforms, and you are going to fall off the side if you don't really put your all into it. So that's just something I want to let the world know. And obviously, as someone who's really been into it now, you're on multiple platforms. You're on TikTok. I saw that Taylor from Secret Lives commented on your TikTok the other day. So congratulations.
Gonna get a feature.
All right. Oh man. But listen, where do you think you spend most of your time now? You know, do you think that, you know, you have an area? I feel like you're usually on Instagram, but you know, how do you feel about TikTok or other platforms as well?
Yeah, I feel like most of my time is with Instagram stuff. But as of late, I feel like it's naturally kind of split because on the brand side, I think it's pretty split because now a lot, like when I first started doing this stuff, brands would either pick if it was going to be on Instagram or TikTok. But I feel like a lot of times now they're kind of packaging it where it's like Instagram syndicated to TikTok. So it ends up being on both. But organically, I feel like it's interesting because I feel like the majority of my audience from Instagram, like I feel like I have slightly different audiences, slightly, because Instagram is like majority of people that know me from the Bachelor stuff, right? And then some that have come in from videos that have done well and like the content that I've put out, where I feel like I wasn't really honestly using TikTok. I'm kicking myself in the butt because I wasn't like, but when my show was airing, like I wasn't using TikTok. I was like that boomer, like, oh, I'm not going to get on TikTok. And then I was just like, why am I not? So I was super late to TikTok. So I feel like my audience there, yeah, it's a lot of Bachelor people, but it's like random people that have seen me on the For You page, I guess, and just follow the content. So I feel like it depends on the mood that I'm in. Like I'll go through ebbs and flows of being kind of like you said, super diligent about planning stuff out. And like, I'm going to make myself put out a TikTok video every day. Right. And people have different strategies. I know some creators where they're like, I'm going to post every single day on Instagram. Right. And that works for some people where I may be more like, okay, a couple times a week I'm on Instagram. Whereas TikTok, you can let it fly. Like I'm like, I can post every day on TikTok if I wanted to and not care. Right. So I feel like I can kind of let my hair down and you can be a little bit, you know, how like TikTok's like you can get a little rough around the edges on TikTok. You know what I mean? Where I feel like my Instagram is a bit more curated. So it really depends on what I'm working on. I think TikTok is like more fun and entertaining because of that. Like you can just like literally take 2 seconds to make a video and throw it out there and it can be like unpolished but hilarious. Whereas I feel like Instagram, like you're a bit more curated. So like with my art, and it's also about knowing your demographic and knowing your platforms, right? So if I'm doing artwork, more times than not, like that's going to do better on Instagram than TikTok. There's a lot that goes into it, but I enjoy both. I feel like I enjoy creating content for Instagram more, but I enjoy like scrolling through TikTok more. So I bounce back and forth between the two.
From working with creators, that's a trend I've noticed too, where they say, you know, their Instagram is a lot more curated, it's a lot more polished, where things like Snapchat or TikTok, they're super unfiltered. People want that really vlogging kind of candid style back.
Right.
So it's interesting to hear from your perspective as a content creator, but now as also a brand owner, where do you see managing that content for your own brand?
Yeah. That's been something that I've started working through. So, fortunately, I do have the experience in working in content creation, which definitely helps, but I am starting to try to figure out like where I can delegate some other stuff. So right now, stuff for Love Potion is only on Instagram. I haven't created a TikTok for it. But from a time standpoint, I probably need to like bring some like Gen Z like mastermind on that like is just up with the trends and stuff, because I really have to sit down and like take time to like kind of go through trends and like, it doesn't just come natural. I feel like a lot of people are really good at just picking up trends and audios and stuff like that. And it's, to Kwame's point, it's like a full-time round the clock thing. And for me, it's a tough balance of like doing the work and like planning out content, but also wanting to like live in the moment. Right. Cause it's like you have an event coming up or like, a party where, a bunch of people are going to be there or Stagecoach, whatever it may be. And you're like, okay, like, let me sit down and lock in on 5 different videos that I want to do. Right. And from a business standpoint, that's great. But from like wanting to live your life, it's like, man, like you don't want to be that annoying person that's like, hey guys, want to do a video, or like feel like you have to document everything. So it's a balancing act for me, at least, of navigating that. But yeah, for love potion stuff for now, I'm just focusing on Instagram because I feel like that's where I'll get the most ROI from my platform of like hopefully converting like interest. But eventually I'll, obviously bring that over to TikTok as well once we hit shelves.
Oh, we love that. We love that. I would love to be one of Love Potion's most prominent customers.
I appreciate that.
You know what I'm saying? So, it's really funny. I will be honest with you, Justin. I actually never tasted an espresso martini until I just constantly kept seeing your content about espresso martinis. And one day I'm at a bar and I always, or old fashion's my drink.
Yeah.
And I'm always ordering old fashions. And one day I'm just like, can I have an espresso martini? And so I'm telling you, that's influencing right there in full impact. It's so funny, man. It's really cool to see somebody that you follow use or do or show something, and then all of a sudden it becomes something that's reinforced in your brain. That's like literally how it works. So good job there.
Good job. Honestly, those are my favorite messages when people are like, I tried one for the first time because of you. I'm like, yes. I love it.
Yes. No, I feel you, man. I think the coolest messages I ever received from people are people who are just like, they either had the confidence to do something or were inspired by something or something made their day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you get those messages. And I got to be honest with you, like, this is not a moment of like, oh, I'm too busy or, oh, I'm too important. Like, I wish I could respond to every message or every DM, every comment. Like, the bandwidth sometimes runs thin, but I guarantee you when you send people who have in any way made an impact on your life, like a message like that, if they're able to see it, even if they're not able to respond all the time, like it really does make a positive impact. So I appreciate the community that surrounds us and really supports us in the things that we do on a daily basis. But with that being said, you've obviously grown a community. You've kept expanding it. How do you feel like what's most impactful for you in terms of how you connect with the people that follow you? Do you like the live stream, or do you like to like answer messages, or do you like to answer comments? How do you really feel like you connect most with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's probably something that I could actually get better at because I do like I'll scroll through TikTok especially and see people on lives like regular, like every night. And I'm like, man, like they have such a strong community. And I'm like, I wonder why, because they're on lives, like engaging. I'm like, man, I don't want to like, it feels like I don't have the time for that right now, but it is so impactful because there's a direct correlation between the people that do that regularly and how engaged their audience is and how loyal their following is. I think for me, I try to engage a lot in the comments for sure. I mean, I love people are so funny in comments. So I love like going back and forth bantering with people in comments. Comment section is like one of my favorite things. And I try to be good about answering like impactful messages that I get. And to your point, Kwame, like a lot, like you never want to sound like, oh, like I just don't have the time. Like your bandwidth does run thin at times. And so what I'll do is if I'm going through and I happen to catch something, I'll like screenshot it. And then I'll take some time aside and go to my screenshots and like just like batch answer a few of them because I know like once they get shoved down there, like I'm never gonna like see it again.
Yeah.
So if I see it on the fly, like I'll screenshot it and try to get back to it later and engage with people that way because yeah, I know a lot of people at the end of the day, it's like we're normal people and like, yeah, we don't see everything, but I don't want people to ever think that I'm like unattainable or like this person that thinks I'm like too cool for school. It's like, no, if you send me a really impactful message of how something that I've done has impacted you or like, I don't know, anything really kind, I try my best to respond to those, but really in the comment section is where I love interacting with people. And then it's cool to see like kind of the reoccurring ones where it's like, people feel like they really like know you at a certain point. And I think that's kind of cool, to like, to feel that community building, and see people talking to you like how they would talk to their friends. I love that type of stuff. But maybe I need to hop on the lives. I don't know.
Do you feel like there was a certain point, whether it was, right around the Bachelorette airing, or, when you really started to take content creation seriously, that you felt your audience grow? Was there like a certain time that you really recognized that happening for you?
Yeah. Well, I think at two different points. One, I feel like I really wasn't like before the show, I would post on social media like once every 3 to 4 months. Like it was scarce, And then, just because you go on the show, you don't just change your social media behavior, right? I'm like, oh, like, okay, like I'll post once every 2 months now. And so I really wasn't doing myself any favors. And like I was still working in finance. So like my goal wasn't to at the time, like I want to be a full-time content creator, like I knew it was something that people did, at a certain point. But, I don't know. I feel like a lot of like I was just so anxious coming off the show. It was my first time seeing myself on TV and people like caring about me or like having opinions about me. So I wasn't focused on social media at all. But then, I started hanging with my friend group, Andrew, Greg, those guys. And I started getting into social media some more. And people would comment because on my first season on The Bachelorette, like my personality, my full personality wasn't really shown. I was just kind of like the faces guy with the memes and stuff like that, right? And so I started doing my thing on social media and people were like, oh my gosh, like ABC hid this personality from us. Like, where is this coming from? And I'm like, this has always been me. And so that kind of gave me a little confidence to keep being me. And so I'd say that was one inflection point. And then the second is when I moved from Baltimore to LA and made the decision to step away from finance. I was like, man, I got to make it now. So I have no choice but to double down and lean into this. So that was really when I saw growth and a lot of changes when I like made it my job and treated it like my job.
Yeah, I do think that's really dope, right? You decided to invest in it and you decided to put your all in it. If you are somebody who was, let's say, starting social media today and you didn't have a platform or you're starting from zero, what would be your strategy?
And I got like no money.
You got $0.
I got no money. Okay.
Yeah. Let's do a half and half. We'll do a no money and then maybe a little bit of pocket change.
Okay. If I got no money, honestly, like there's no easy way around it. There's no overnight, like get lucky, like you can get lucky on a video or two, sure. But I think you really have to dedicate yourself to it, right? And so if I'm that person that has a 9 to 5, I can't have the mindset that like I'm going to make a video, post once a week, hopefully one goes viral, and then I'm just going to amass all these followers. It doesn't work like that, right? Like you have to be consistent, and depending on what your goals are, like you have to treat that like a second job. So even if you're working that 9 to 5, like okay, when you get home, now your other job starts where you are scrolling your research, like what are the trends, like what can I hop on, like what's a series. Do I have any talents or, what are my differentiators? How do I want to niche myself? What do I want to be known for? Right. And once you figure that out, it's the dedication and consistency that you have to, stick with. Like I have a friend, I'm so proud of him. I have a friend back home. He has a regular 9 to 5. And, back home in Baltimore, like there are no real content creators. It's not like a thing, right? And so people probably thought it was weird what I was doing. But, this friend of mine, he started doing vlogs and kind of like inspirational stuff every single day. And he started with 0. And over the course of like 8 to 12 months, he got up to like 45,000 followers on TikTok, right? And I'm like, bro, I'm so proud of him. But he was like consistent every single day. And we used to talk about it because he's like, man, like there's people that are like giving me crap for it and like, oh, what do you think is an influencer? And then the same people used to do the same thing to me that they were doing to him, where I would organically post stuff about Target, right? And then people were like, oh, does Target have you on their payroll? And I'm like, this is what I enjoy doing. And then 6 months later, Target was hiring me for campaigns. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
And so the same thing where my friend, people were like, oh, what do you think, you're an influencer? And then he got the following and then brands were sending him stuff. And it was like the coolest thing to him. So it's like, you have to have that consistency. You have to make it like an everyday, just like you clock into your job, like you got to clock in on social media and put the work in. There's no easy way around it. Like that's just what it takes to build a community. It takes consistency.
Yeah. To add to that, man, it did used to be that you could release one viral video, maybe one or two really, really viral videos and gain a following. I remember like had to be like 8 years ago now or something. There was a guy who made a incredible 3D animation of like the Grim Reaper on a bridge. Right. It was just like this insane animation. And I think he said it took him like some crazy, like took him like 3 months to make just this like 10-second animation. Right. And before the animation, I looked at his account, like, you know, when it started going viral, I looked at his account and it was at like, you know, 20 or 30,000 followers. I checked back a month later and he was at 500,000 followers off of just that one viral reel. And that's what's changed about then to now. Yeah. Right. I've seen content creators who have actually a bit of consistency and are actually getting some good traction with their videos, but it takes a significant more engagement. It takes a lot more activity. You now have to be, you know, if you really, really, really set on becoming a content creator, you got to find your niche, find your expertise, find what your, I would say like your formula is, and you almost just have to constantly blast it. I just saw a video the other day of a guy saying one of his jobs is to just create, you know, new accounts and try to grow them as quickly as possible. And on one of his accounts, he says he posts, it's like, I think it was like 8 times a day or so, because essentially not all of your followers are seeing all of your posts, right? So you put it out in the hopes that by the time all of your followers have seen it throughout the day, you haven't oversaturated to some of your followers. Some of your, you know, new followers are now seeing your content, and it just becomes this mix of like new followers seeing it, not too overwhelming for your other followers because they're not seeing all of your content, and being able to connect with like different communities and different hashtags and so on and so forth. So in order to really have successful growth, there is a significant amount of effort and consistency that goes into it. So just wanted to co-sign that. But
yeah, it's also, is that on TikTok or Instagram that you're talking?
The video? So this was on Instagram. I think TikTok.
Yeah, and that's the difference, right? Like when you follow somebody on Instagram, in theory, that's the content that you're seeing, right? Whereas like on TikTok, I live on the For You page. And I forget to like click over to the follow it, like the who I'm following. I mean, so like I live on the For You page, which to your point, kind of like decreases the likelihood that someone's going to follow you off of like they may see a viral video and like it, doesn't mean they're going to follow you off of that, right? Yeah. So I follow people because if I see that they're consistent with either like, oh, they're really good at trending audios, or I like their style, or I like, there has to be something that they do for me, at least, in order for me to like follow them. So yeah, just to kind of reiterate your point, like I think you do have to like kind of niche yourself and like, you know, give something, like people have to come knowing what to expect from your page, you know, to a degree to get that follow. So it's tough.
And I don't, you know, I don't want to say, our niche of like social celebrity has it so difficult, right? Like whatever, we got lucky, we got a following, which, okay, I will say this. I had someone say to me like, oh, you earned your following, or sorry, you like gained your following overnight. Like, you know, I'd love to talk to some like real content creators. Well, I really think it's important. Right. Face palm. But I think putting yourself out to be really, really vulnerable to, I don't know how much ever percentage of the world, you know, the reality TV side of things, it takes a significant amount of patience, vulnerability, and like willingness to like be out there and be okay. Because like you said, when you came off of the show, there's just a lot of heat that comes off of social media. And it's really, really tough to get over that hump and think, all right, I'm going to get back onto this thing where people have been sassing me on for the last, 30 days. Right. And so I do think that maybe content creators who grow organically, they gave up a lot of time and created a lot of consistency with their patterns. But I think as people within our circle and our niche and social celebrities who were on reality TV, you gave up your privacy and you gave up a lot of who you are to the world. And so there's definitely a big earned component of that. And then once you get there, you have to keep going forward. I say this to people all the time, like just yesterday, I lost 350 followers. Yeah. Like I remember, right? Like you have to keep it up. You have to keep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I feel like, we're so fortunate that overnight, because of our shows, we were handed a following. But it is harder to keep them, right? Because they flee. But it's harder for the organic content creators to get that following, but they could have half the following that we have, but those suckers could be engaged. Like they're loyal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and like there's a formula when it comes to what brands are looking for of like, to your point, like it doesn't matter the following that you have. It's like how engaged is your audience? What's the quality of your content? So these creators that have started from zero, they could have half of what we have, but they've built such a loyal, engaged community that it could be more beneficial than someone who has 500,000 followers from a TV show, but no one really cares what they're putting out. Like they just followed them from the show and then they're like, oh, I forgot to even follow this person, 8 seasons ago. Right. So, like you said, just because once you get it, you got to keep people engaged. And the goal is to grow, that's kind of, when you see the following dip, it's not always a bad thing because you don't want people who aren't enjoying your content anyway. Right. So it's like you're kind of shedding the ghost like whoever's following you and that doesn't care, that's not going to engage in your content anyway. And the goal is to then bring in new people that are following you, not because they saw you on Love is Blind, but because they enjoy what you're putting out. Yeah. That's the goal,
And I think to your earlier point too, Justin, it's very interesting, I think, from both sides, like whether you are quote unquote handed a following or, building it from ground zero, that it does take that time and consistency. And I think a lot of people, especially that are spreading like negativity or, lose interest or not caring, is that everyone has to start somewhere. So it's just really interesting to see from, both sides, whether, you get this following a little bit easier and it's harder to maintain, or you're really working to build it and it's easier for you to maintain. Just hearing both sides of the content creation journey. And I think the main point of it all is it's not easy, no matter what your starting point is.
I will say, like, it's not easy, but I will say I give a ton of credit to the people that have grown it organically, because even from like a psychological standpoint, when you start from zero, man, it can be demoralizing to put some stuff out there and no one's seeing it. No one, like, it can be disheartening. It's like, damn, like, where's the ROI? Like, I'm putting in this work. Where at least like when we get quote unquote handed the following, it's like we're starting from something. And so from a mental standpoint, it's like, okay, like we already have the base. So maintaining it, it takes a lot of work still. But like I give a ton of credit to people that weather the storm of the zero, and build up. Like it takes a lot. So shout out to them for sure.
Nice. Weather the storm of the zero. So now that you are where you are, Justin, do you work alone on all facets of things, right? Like the content you create, the deals that you go find. Do you have a team around you? Because, I know that most content creators, once they decide they want to take it to that extreme, they get tools around them. Usually it's a community of people who help them. How do you structure that? Do you have people that help you with any specific parts of your content creation?
Like holistically, like everything. I mean,
like every aspect of it, just the creation and the deals.
Oh, okay. The creation aspect, no, that's just me. I'm kind of a bit of a control freak. Not like in a terrible way, but it's like even down to like handling my own emails. So if a brand reaches out, I work with a couple different agencies, non-exclusively, but I want to see every inbound opportunity that comes in, and then I want to be able to kind of delegate where that goes. I never want to just blindly, not that, I mean, people do it, and it depends on if you're more of like a type A, type B, like how much you got on your plate, whatever. So there's, no right or wrong way to do this. Just I'm speaking personally how I do it, what works for me. I never want to kind of just like blindly leave that open and just wonder like, I wonder this month, because it also helps me gauge like, okay, what effect is my organic content having on brands, right? So I can see the direct correlation of like, okay, these past 2 months, I really locked in on making cocktail videos or like funny bits, whatever. And okay, more brands are in my inbox now. Whereas if I left that to somebody else, I could be hustling and be like, well, I don't really know like if this brand that's coming in is because they pitched me or a brand saw my stuff and wanted me. So I like having that data myself to kind of see where I'm at. So I work with a couple different teams on the execution, like the negotiation and execution of the deals. But when it comes to like the conception phase and all that, that's just me. Like I come up with all the ideas and, submit all the concepts and go through all that stuff. And then the execution of the content is either just me or I'll outsource. I have a videographer that I work with pretty regularly. And that kind of depends on how much time I have, what's the lead time that I have to, because a lot of times it's like a very rushed like turnaround time. So if I know how long it's going to take him to shoot, edit, all that stuff, depends on the size of the deal, all those things. But I have a videographer, editor, my management teams, but other than that, nothing crazy.
Nice. And are you exclusive or non-exclusive? Because I think
none.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And are you working with 2 or 3 management teams?
Yeah, like mainly 2.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And how do you decide what brands you're going to work with, and do you ever turn down deals?
Yeah. So a couple different ways. One, sometimes I'll know right off the bat, like if it's a big brand it's a household brand, I'm like, I'd love to work with you. You know what I mean? And let's hope that a lot of times they don't come with a concept, but like, let's hope the campaign aligns with something that I am comfortable putting out and something that I can feel like I can put my own spin on. And more times than not, they're coming to me because they know the type of content that I create. And so they would never come to me and expect a talk to camera video. They're coming to me knowing that I'm most likely going to like make a bit out of it or something. But if it's a brand that I'm not super familiar with, a lot of times I'll ask for the creative brief to see like what kind of wiggle room I have to make it my own. And if they're super strict on doing it their way, then I'm like, I'm cool to pass it. And it's tough because sometimes, like from a financial standpoint, it can feel really irresponsible to turn down some of this money. But at the same time, I don't want to just be like a billboard. I don't want to like dilute my content and just be a sellout, for whatever you want to call it, and just like shove it down my followers' throats, every brand that comes my way. So I do try to find a really good balance of like, okay, is this organic to me? Do I really stand behind it? While also not being like financially irresponsible, if that makes sense, So I don't have, there's like no silver bullet for me. It's kind of like, I just feel it out, ask questions and make a decision based on like my beliefs.
It does kind of seem like what your strategy is honestly does benefit you more in the long term, where you're really, like you said, I think the main thing I've at least taken away is really investing in yourself, investing in your craft. And by being a little bit pickier about those brand deals or what the brief is, or, what goes into making a video for a brand, that you're really investing in your audience because it's more authentic to you.
Right.
Yeah. And Justin, we've talked about a whole lot of things and we've been asking you question after question. And, I think at this portion, I want to give you an opportunity to tell us something about Love Potion. Man, it's a really cool concept. I think it's a lot of people on the content creation side, like the way that brands used to work or the way that creating a business used to work would be create a business and then create a brand behind it. Mm. And now I think it's like create the brand, the idea, the identity, the audience, and then use that to create what your business is. And so you've obviously cultivated a big community of people who support espresso martinis. But tell us about, Love Potion, how it started, how you conceptualized it and how you brought it to life.
Yeah. So I started working on Love Potion like over 3 years ago. And so it kind of started, after the show when, like we keep saying, you get handed this following, right? Like people have to like you. But, when you start getting a following from the shows that we were on, like I said, I didn't really all of a sudden switch up and change how I acted, what I enjoyed. Like there's been facets of me that existed before the show and persist to this day, a lot. And some of those are artwork. Like I've always been an artist, I've always been creative. I've always loved traveling. I've always loved good cocktails. And so two of those things, traveling and cocktails, are two things that I was posting about, right? And so I kind of used the model of like the Dave Portnoy pizza tour type of thing, where I would go from city to city, and like espresso martinis have been my favorite cocktail for a long time now. And so I would travel and be like, hey, I'm going to be in Austin, Chicago, New York, wherever. Like, what's the best espresso martini? And people would write in like, you got to go to this cocktail bar, you got to go to this place. And so I would go and rate them, and I kind of made it like a series, and I was making cocktail videos. And so I was trying to niche my content, because I had this plan of like, okay, again, if I'm going to take that leap of faith and step away from my finance job, I need to create something for myself, because I don't know how long this social media stuff's going to last. And so something that I knew that I'd be passionate about was cocktails. And like when I looked around the market, there weren't a ton of people doing canned espresso martinis, and like good ones at that. And so at that time, I started doing my research on my distilleries and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, to your point, like build the brand identity, and then like actually release the brand after that. And so I wanted to niche my content to make it more organic for me to do, for it to make. I was thinking like 5 steps ahead. Like, okay, if I know in a couple of years I'm going to release this canned cocktail company, it needs to make sense. So I was niching my content into cocktail making videos, espresso martini stuff, whatever, and that was attracting alcohol brands. So Jack Daniel's I was working with, Cointreau, Bud Light, Old Forester, all these different whiskey, tequila, vodka companies, and I was doing cocktail making videos for them. All the while, like I'm working on Love Potion and creating this brand identity of like the go-to person for espresso martinis. And every single day, like I get tagged in or sent espresso martini memes, or like, you got to try this one, or what's your rating on this? Like and I love it every single day. And so that's kind of how the idea came about. And then a lot has happened over the past 3 years. Like it's just been me working on this. Up until recently, I brought on 2 consultants, but it was me for the past 2.85 years that I've been working on this. But that's kind of like the quick and dirty of how it came about.
Wow, that is dope. You've literally been tracking this since things happened. It's really cool to really think about it that way, right? Because like it just sprung up, and to us and to me, I'm like, oh, this is a really cool idea. My first question was like, when did he think about this? Like I thought the idea of it came after you kind of built this following of people who were, really interested in espresso martinis. But it seems like you had the idea and used it to build up, which is basically exactly what we're talking about now, right? It's really cool that you're able to just start this up because you have cultivated what this brand was supposed to be, and you've had this idea for so long. So that's super freaking cool. I love to hear that. Excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, so hopefully we're reaching the finish line here. So it should be available in stores in LA end of July, early August, and then like nationwide rollout, like D2C around that time as well. So we're getting there, but then it's like the work just starts from that point too. So it's a lot, but it's like really rewarding. And it's like when it's your own thing, like it feels like work, but it doesn't feel like work, because it's like you're growing something that you love, you're passionate about. So it's very time consuming, but it's been great. It's been great.
Yeah. And did you get any investors or anything, or is this kind of a fully self-applied?
Yeah, it's been self-funded up until now.
Wow. So. Very dope. Yeah. Well, congratulations, man. Excited for Love Potion to get on the shelves. And like I said, I'd love to be one of the big consumers of that. Lauren as well. Do you like espresso martinis, Lauren?
Oh yeah, that's what I'm like super excited about this. I'm an espresso martini snob, so I'll definitely have to be one of your B2C customers as well.
I love that. I got to get your feedback on it then.
Perfect. I'll leave the inbox open.
Oh man. Well, look, Justin, we're coming just about close to the end of this conversation, mostly because I was a little bit late. I'm sorry, y'all. But I'd love to get a little bit of quick fire to kind of just explore the social media world before we we shut things down so you can give us your opinion about how others can look at the social media landscape. Are you down with that?
Totally.
All right, sounds good, man. So I'll ask this or that. You answer, and then you give us just one sentence as to why. So starting here, do you like to batch content or create spontaneously?
Spontaneously. I wish I was better at batching, but I think of why is because I think of ideas on the fly and in real time as they come to me. And so I also just got too much going on to batch stuff right now. I think on the fly stuff just fits better for my style.
Yeah. Instagram or TikTok?
If I had Instagram, I guess.
Okay, I like it. Reels or carousel?
Oh, Reels.
Reels. And what converts better for you?
It's actually so technically, like, sorry, I know you want a quick answer, but like,
no, it's okay.
More times than not, like a carousel of pictures, I think can perform better on like average, but you have a higher propensity to like go viral and like hit the algorithm, obviously on a reel. So when you get the sum of all of those and average it out, like Reels gives a better ROI because it can hit the algorithm.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, a finance guy.
Yeah.
And then do you have a current algorithm insight that you can pass to anybody?
Man, I wish. I'm looking for it. If you have algorithm insight, let me know, because I feel like I'm at the point where I've tried to figure it out, but it's like I'll throw it at the wall and see what sticks. You know, there's videos that I took weeks to make and they flopped. And there's a video that, there's videos that I was running out the door and I was like, wait, can you film this real quick? And they get millions of views. So it's so random. Like I don't know. I wish I had the algorithm insights. Sorry.
All right. And this one can be a much longer answer if you want it to be, but where do you see social media going in the next couple of years?
Jeez. Well, for our sake, I hope on the up and up. But no, all jokes aside, I do think that, well, from a brand perspective, like for brand or like just socially, like in general.
In general, we can multifaceted. Yeah. We can do brand, creator, and just social media in general.
I mean, I think it depends. I mean, I'm trying to like not word vomit right now, but I think holistically, like social media is such a powerful and like dangerous tool, especially like with where technology is going with like AI and stuff like that. And we're now entering like an era where it's like, okay, our parents' generation, our generation, and then like, Gen Z, like all of these generations are on social media, right? And it's dangerous because like we know about AI and all these things, but like I'll have my mom or something like read a headline or like hear a voice. And I'm like, Mom, like that was AI. Like that's dangerous because if you thought that was true, like, you know what I mean? Imagine what that could do from like a media standpoint, like, whatever. But I think it is good because it's a source of entertainment. It's a source of advertising. It's a source of news and like really positive things that we can consume on this one device that we all rely on and carry around. And I don't think that that's going anywhere. I think the convenience factor of social media combined with the ROI that brands are seeing in being able to reach all these people from social media versus the exponentially greater amount that they would have to put into, a commercial or a billboard or whatever it may be. So from a brand and just like a social standpoint, like I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's only going to become more and more prominent. But I also think it's going to become more and more dangerous because of technology and because we're introducing it to people earlier on in their lives. So that was really long-winded, but that's my stance or my, predictions, I guess.
I like it. All right. So, I mean, it looks like we're just about at the end of this conversation. To tie everything together with AI considered, do you see yourself ever incorporating AI into your content?
I mean, yeah, I think I already do. Like for funny stuff. But I think like even like not funny, like I use Chat GPT if I'm like on the fly, like if I'm in the car and I've got my manager like, oh, they need a caption or whatever, I'm like, all right, like I'll hit ChatGPT with like the vibe of the video, what I'm going for, like help me think of like a creative caption. You know what I mean? Boom, tweak it, copy paste, cool.
Lovely.
You know, I've used different AI generators for like imagery, you know, for like my love potion stuff or even like for my personal stuff. So, I mean, I think it's smart to incorporate. It's such a powerful tool. You know, I did a brand deal with Adobe where I was using AI and like making a video on how to use AI to create compelling content. So I think it's smart too. So yeah, for sure.
Well, sweet man, Justin, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I want to, you know, give an opportunity for everyone to kind of have their last words. So, you know, Lauren, do you have anything to say to our audience before we sign off today?
Yeah, I think a lot what Justin was saying, there's a lot of valuable lessons in there. And the two that I'm definitely going to take away is to be consistent and also invest in yourself.
Lovely. Are you going to become a content creator anytime soon, Lauren?
I don't know. I'm feeling pretty inspired after this.
I love it.
And then Justin, any last words for the audience today?
Sorry if I was rambling too much. Maybe I'll leave with that because I think I've talked too much. But no, I'd say, you know, as cliched as it is, man, post your content. You never know what's going to stick. You never know what video could like change everything for you and give you that confidence to keep on doing it. So just let it fly. Let it fly.
I love it. And do not, I think Justin mentioned this earlier, do not get weighed down by the, what did you call it? Was it the something of zero?
Oh, weather the storm of zero?
Weather the storm of zero. So that, you know what? We do quotes per episode. So that's definitely going to have to be the quote from that episode. I really love that. You got to weather the storm of zero. But with that being said, that was today's episode of Beyond Influence. Thank you so much, Justin, for joining us. Thank you, Lauren, for being a co-host for yet another great conversation. This was definitely one of my favorite conversations. Got to have a good time. And I'm sure once we sign off with this, Justin and I will call each other and talk trash about other things. But it was great to have a nice structured conversation with everybody today. Hopefully everyone took something out of it. We're excited to share it with you. And we will see you until next time. Bye-bye. Yo.